Yeah, could you wake?
That's what I heard.
We're talking fucking Power Rangers, boy.
Go!
Yeah, time for go. Welcome to Was It Good, the podcast that reviews movies and TV shows. Today we are talking Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Once and Always. I'm Ravi, joined by my two brothers,
Arjuna.
Krishna.
and our producer.
Michael.
And we
And
are
we are
Was It
Was It
Good?
Good?
Wow, you remembered. Somebody woke up finally.
I've been awake the whole time.
You were
Well,
very,
it only took a week.
quiet before we started rolling.
Well, it's because my eyes were open, but I was sleeping.
So fun fact, everyone, Arjuna is so dedicated to the craft of podcasting about movies and TV shows. He had no time during the day yesterday for whatever reason, and then decided it would be smart to wake up at 5 a.m. to watch this movie.
Jesus Christ.
So I'm going to apologize on Arjuna's behalf if he's a little tired,
You know, I actually think the episodes where I'm the most tired are my best.
because you'll probably say something or start talking and then kind of trail off, if you will.
Arjuna's definitely like has more hot takes, I feel like, when he's
I'm
slightly
more
sleepless.
unhinged.
It's true.
Yeah, he's definitely more unhinged, that's for sure.
Speaking of unhinged, this movie.
Special? The special?
The
special.
special. This 55
Those
minutes
55
of
minutes, yeah.
this 55 minutes of something on your screen and then you looking at your iPhone because it couldn't hold your attention.
This special was made because it's the 30th anniversary of the original release of the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers.
Mm-hmm.
And
Some good information. Here.
should we do one-word impressions?
Sure, we should do one word impressions.
Honestly, we, you know, this pod should take no more than 6 minutes. But yeah, you know, let's get into it.
Krisha, your one word impression. Start us off.
It's gonna be why.
Like, are you asking me why? Or?
Why do I have to answer this question? No, I'm kidding. My one word impression is going to be why. Now, Arjuna already answered the why. The why is that's the 30th anniversary. But if you didn't know that and you sat down, you know, you used to watch Power Rangers when you were between the ages of like 3 and 12, and you sat down to watch this, I think most of I'm talking about us millennials, reaction would be, why? Why did they choose this script? Why did they put that much effort into it? Why did we even commit to doing this as a pod? So many whys around this viewing experience, and I don't think any of those are actually answerable.
Answerable? Is that a word?
Yeah.
Answerable?
I don't know, but it seems apt.
Absolutely. I'm going to go ahead and just cut in and say that is 100% a word.
Interesting. I learned something new
Awesome.
today. So
Yeah. That's why we did the pod.
That's why we did the pod. That's why we watched this. We
got some value.
educated.
Well, we have reviewed Power Rangers before on this podcast. We reviewed the 2018 Power Rangers movie.
Was this
The movie.
podcast that we reviewed?
think
it on,
so.
or was it our old one?
Well,
no,
we have
I think
talked
it was
about
this one.
Yeah, I think it was the three of us. Yeah,
Did we say we liked that movie? 'Cause
Yeah.
I liked
I
that
did.
movie.
we did. We were all big fans of the
I was
movie.
100%
We-
yes. And I was sad when it didn't get greenlit for another sequel.
They should have
For
done
a
that
sequel.
instead of this.
We were stans of the movie.
we were stands.
We were like, this is good, even though the Power Rangers fan base was not the biggest fan of the movie. But it does make me wonder: are we aligned with the Power Rangers fan base?
No, not even a little bit.
because Krishna.
Whoa, wait. We'll get to that piece
Oh.
after our one word impressions
Okay.
because I want that to be a whole.
I had a good transition.
I know, but I'm cutting you off.
When I'm tired, I pseudo host.
I can tell. I can
Take
tell.
over.
He's a
I can
shadow
take
host.
over. I'm like the Green Ranger. I come in and I'm now
You're
the star.
the leader. Now. I'm the star now.
I am the captain now.
Look at me.
Juno,
I'm
so
just-
as you want to take the spotlight, what's your one word impression there, buddy?
I'm gonna go with tired.
Okay.
And so, as Rafi mentioned, I watched this at 5 a.m. this morning because I ran out of time during the week to watch this special. And I was tired while I watched this. And I think this franchise is potentially tired itself. You know, I think they've run out of
Steam.
steam and ideas and originality that I think the show used to have, because clearly Power Rangers used to be the creme de la creme of television, right? It used to be like, you know how people talk about like Game of Thrones and
Sure.
Sopranos.
Right.
Power Rangers was,
No.
was right there.
You're on drugs, aren't you?
I'm clearly,
Drugs you
exaggerating here, but yeah, I mean, it just didn't, like, for me, it didn't capture the original magic that I loved for like the original Mighty Morphin Power Rangers and those early seasons of Power Rangers. And it just felt tired. It felt like no one was like really into doing this. Even like the actors themselves, they're obviously older. They don't pretend like they're still 20-something-year-olds, but like I felt like they felt a little tired in this too. Like it felt like half of the cast was kind of like really phoning it in. There's like my other contender for one word was cheesy, right? Because you can have like good cheesy and bad cheesy.
Mm-hmm.
Like a good cheesy is like a Domino's pan crust pizza, right? Like it's a good amount of cheese.
You
But
probably
then,
shouldn't
like,
admit to people that you think Domino's is good, because that's another people get
I don't
tilted
care.
on.
Perfect sound effect.
But or like like a good amount of cheese in a
Sure.
quesadilla or something, right? Good cheesy.
Good cheese,
But then you
yeah.
have like a bad cheesy, right? When it's like
God, you're making me hungry.
it's like when there's a lot of cheesiness in a thing, or you have like a pasta but there's too much cheese and you like
Stop
shit
talking
your
about
pants after, right?
I don't know. Why wouldn't you just give an example of good cheesy, bad cheesy like movies? Why
Why are you talking about food? I get you're
I know you're
tired,
tired,
Is this
but come
what you're
on,
like-
man.
It's more visual. I really
Sure.
want to paint a nice picture for the audience, and I want to make people hungry.
Now all I
It's
can think is,
succeeding.
have you ever been? This is obviously weird to talk about foods, but fuck it. Have you heard of? It's a little chain in SoCal called Guisados.
Guisados?
Yeah.
Yes.
Have you had their cheese quesadilla? I think they have the best cheese.
I actually
quesadilla.
haven't.
It's just a block of cheese
Oh.
between two little corn tortilla.
Yeah.
Wait.
really, really good.
Tell me they melt the block of cheese.
No.
Yeah, it's melty. It's really good. Christian,
I just picture it like they put like a block of cheddar and then put some
You've
tortilla
never-
on it.
you've
It's
never
like, that's
been-
a quesadilla.
there, right? Either, Krishna?
No, I've never.
When
I've
he's
never
in,
even
we,
heard of
we
this
should
place.
go.
I've been to Guisados before.
When I
Then
come
I've
to
never
the
had
end of
this
May.
cheese quesadilla.
You should have it. It's life changing.
They have shrimp there.
They do. They have a couple
Yeah,
taco
it's
shrimp
good.
things.
It's
Anyway.
good. It's a good spot.
Yeah, what was your point again?
That this movie, it just missed the mark, right? It was
Sure.
tired. It was cheesy,
Cheesy.
and not in the good way, right? It felt like a half-hearted effort in a lot of ways.
Gotcha.
I didn't feel
The love.
the love. I didn't feel the nostalgia. I thought everything about the movie was bad, honestly. The dialogue, like Power Rangers has this certain charm of like, with the fighting, with the
Sure.
dialogue, it's like cheesy, but you're like, okay.
It's good cheese.
It's good. This one was just like
pan crust
gobble
pizza.
gobble like a turkey. And I was just like,
the putties.
can I just exit?
Yeah.
Like, it was tough. It was tough.
It's good. It's a very well-rounded thought on your one-word impression, and fuck you for making me hungry, you asshole.
It's a win-win there.
So for my one-word impression, I'm gonna go with surprise. And
What?
And mostly
Surprise, motherfucker.
surprise, because I was surprised at how bad it was.
What?
Like I went in with very low expectations,
But it's
but
Power Rangers.
Power Rangers, like
can't-
you know that like the point of Power Rangers is to show you the cool toy of the week, and then sucker your parents into you buying, the toys and the merch and all that crap. And so I went in with very, very low expectations, but somehow my low expectations were still too high for
Yeah.
this.
My zero expectation was
Yeah.
still too
It
high.
was
Yeah.
so bad. And I was also surprised at how, there's this, thing in the world, right, where, second screen viewing, right,
Mm.
where, people consistently are on their phone, and that phone is the second screen. For me, the movie was my second screen, and my phone was my primary because I was paying more attention to whatever was happening on my phone, and I just could not could not like focus.
Were you playing
at all.
solitaire? I know you've been on a solitaire kick.
I was on solitaire, and then I was reading the news. And then
What
got,
the
I was
fuck?
like sad about the news, and then I was like, "Oh, this Power Rangers."
And then you were even more sad.
Yeah, I was just like,
Doing
"Wow."
like the Friday morning crossword. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, it's
I
bad.
gotta know
Sure.
the Megazord battle,
Oh, for the love of God,
the CGI on
the
it.
CGI.
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I think Michael, our producer, with his level of Blender expertise, could render a better fight scene than that shit. Like, I think amateur 3D artists would do a better job of what we saw. It was dog shit.
Thank you.
Oh,
thank
man.
you.
Wait,
I know that. All I'm saying is that is frankly unacceptable. It's just not. That's not an acceptable level of anything.
do you guys remember the Key and Peele sketch where it's like it's Peele, Jordan Peele, and he's like playing a character named Wendell. And he's like making this music video of his fantasy music
Oh,
video.
yes.
And
yes,
it's like
yes,
super, like it's like
High end,
high
right.
end,
And you
pretty
have the
super,
budget.
You get the
Yeah.
budget, and then like he runs out of money,
Right.
and then it gets really bad.
Fireball.
This is kind of what this felt like. They like used the like slow mo cameras like a little one too many times.
All the FPV drones in
Yeah,
the beginning.
yeah.
When they're fighting on a random New Zealand
Yeah,
cliff
they
or
like
something.
use that too many times. They're like, look how much money we have now.
Right.
And then they're like, fuck, we're really bad at production management,
Right.
and we blew it all that one shot.
Well, also like the marketing money too behind. They put a lot of marketing dollars behind this, and obviously it's a Netflix / what's the Hasbro company?
Entertainment One.
Entertainment One. It's a co-production or whatever. But they did big like pop-up events for this in LA and New York City where they had the cast and the crew. They had a bunch of Power Rangers suited up. You know, like stunt or like karate people.
What
I don't
the
know.
fuck?
But you know, they had all this stuff like set
I'm
up.
so,
and, like,
that is
they
shocking to
invited
me.
a bunch
If
of
I
influencers, the whole thing.
if I was in charge of that and that was the final product, I would be ashamed for it to ever see the light of day. But secondarily, I wouldn't put that much into marketing knowing it was such a piece of crap. That is just so shocking. They would have been better, honestly, if they had dressed up like for that. We're talking about the Megazord battle, right? If they had dressed up some people in prosthetics, like from like they did in the original Japanese footage, right? From
Yeah, they had people in
40 years
cardboard.
ago.
Yeah.
If they had done that, it would have been better.
Yeah. You guys remember the 1998 Power Rangers movie, is it?
Oh.
98?
Oh, the ooze one?
So
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
So good.
That CGI was better than what we
Yeah.
saw here. And like they did this weird thing like with the Megazord where like the Megazord is like, you know, this big bulky thing, right? And like they made it skinny in some aspect. Like
It
the
just looked so
aspect,
wrong.
the ratio just seemed wrong and off. It was just, it was so bad. So
Yeah.
bad.
Also,
pain-
don't
it
you
was
need all
painful
five of
bad.
them to like, you know?
But they said
Move
that
the
they figured
Megazord.
out how to use it with less Rangers or something. I don't know. Tom or not Tommy.
Billy?
Billy really kind of took the core learnings of Zordon and like what you should and shouldn't do with the Morphin grid or whatever, and he really just scienced it and
Science the shit out
he
of it.
scienced the shit out of it and made it in a way that works for him and not the way you're supposed to do it.
Yeah, I mean, there was like those throwaway lines from Alpha, like I figured out a way to duplicate the power so that you can
The coins.
you can,
yeah.
we can use the Sabretooth Zord without
Training.
the Yellow Ranger,
Yeah.
and I think that line is supposed to get you to realize that you don't need all the Rangers to power the Megazord. Just so much retconning,
Great stuff.
Was it that?
riveting,
Yeah.
riveting.
You know, I've changed my mind
Sure.
on the whole movie.
Oh wow.
Best movie of 2023.
Yeah.
So let's get into I think which will be the funniest part of this entire pod. Before we started this pod, Arjuna revealed to me the Rotten Tomatoes score for this film. And Christian, we've not told you what it is yet. Arjuna, would you like to do the honors
Yeah,
of ruining Christian's life?
I want Christian. I want to see Christian's reaction, right? 'Cause
Sure.
we do have a video component to this podcast.
yes. Check it out on youtube.com/wasn't good.
Christian, why don't you pull up Rotten Tomatoes now?
Yes.
And look up the
Yeah.
critics and audience score for this. this special /
This
film.
amazing work of Netflix. Let's
Let's ISO on Christian's face as we
yes, and
as
then
we get the real time reaction.
we should digitally enhance and zoom in on his eye. Oh my goodness! There you go. Look at that face.
for our audio listeners, his eyes
They went big.
they got
went
big,
very big.
They
his,
got-
his jaw is
got
open.
really big.
He's quiet. He can't. He's stunned. He's
is-
literally
he is-
stunned.
he is
He doesn't know what to do.
flabbergasted
I
right
think
now.
he's trying to figure out, like, did we hack the internet?
I know.
Is it fake?
He's like, did we?
Is this fake?
we
Is this
changed
I'm like, no. I'm wondering, am I on the wrong Power Rangers? But no, this is the special once and always.
Yep.
The fucking
Yeah,
Read it out, Christian.
Yeah,
Read it
please
out.
read it
Read
out.
out the
Read it
Rotten
out for everyone
Tomatoes
so
yeah.
everyone is aware.
Okay, so the Rotten Tomatoes score is a 92%. 92%, and the audience score is a 91.
So I mentioned this earlier at the top of the pod, right? I'm like, are we not aligned with the bulk of the Power Ranger fans?
We definitely not.
Because again, when we did the movie, we liked it. A lot of Power Ranger fans did not like
Hated it.
And then, you know, spoiler alert for those who tune in to this podcast and listen to the end to hear if we say it's good or not. I'm going to go out on a limb and say we didn't like this movie. We didn't like this special.
Judy, you're crazy.
And it
It's
seems like a
crazy.
bulk of the Power Ranger fans dug this special. And I'm very confused.
Yeah, it's frankly shocking. I was actually speechless. I'm like, this doesn't make any fucking sense. I mean, I guess I don't mind not being aligned with the Power Rangers fans, because if being a Power Rangers fans means you like bad things, then I don't think we want to be a part of that group necessarily. So kudos to us for not being aligned with those peeps.
Those people.
I want
Those Power Rangers.
I want to
people.
feel included though. So I loved this special.
So, Saban's Power Rangers, the 2018 film, or it came out in 2017.
Oh wow!
That's why I think it was. I don't think it was part of this podcast. I think it was a previous iteration that we had done. But that movie, its Rotten Tomatoes score, the the tomato meter score is 51%.
The critic score, right?
Yeah, the critic score,
Yeah.
and the audience score is 65%.
That's wild to me.
Insane.
Yeah.
Insane. But I also have to wonder though, like on the critic side of things, you know, critics are going to be the critics are different when comparing a big blockbuster feature,
Sure.
like Saban's Power Rangers versus Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Once and Always, which is a Netflix special. It's not even considered a movie. It's 55 minutes, whatever. So I think it is different groups of people, and also like potentially like with this movie again, like I feel like a lot of money was put behind its marketing, and they made sure to get people who are hardcore like Power Ranger fans. Like there is an entire group of people on social who are Power Ranger influencers, right? That like they go to PowerCon, I think it's called, or not MegaCon, but like Power Rangers Con or whatever.
ZordCon.
Like they do all that stuff. Like they're very involved in like the fan films, which I didn't know this, but until today, Kay Sackhoff was in a Power Rangers fan film that came out like
Some
10
of the
years
Power
ago or
Rangers,
something.
some of the Power Ranger fan films are actually pretty good.
Yeah, really
They're better
good.
than the special. we
yeah,
just saw.
this felt like a bad fan film.
Yes,
It felt like a middle school production.
yes.
I'm just confused like why people like this. Like the very premise of the movie doesn't make sense, right? Like they couldn't get half of these actors back,
Right.
and they still included them in this weird.
And just to clarify,
Off-putting way.
one real quick
Yes.
thing, you know, obviously, you know, with Jason Frank.
Jason David Frank.
Jason David Frank unfortunately did pass away.
Yeah.
He passed away after
They taped this.
they taped this. Him and the Pink Ranger, who's
Yep. Kimberly. No. Amy Jo Johnson.
Amy Jo Johnson, they were both offered parts in this. They both turned it down.
I'm assuming the original Red Ranger was probably offered a
He
part
was
two.
also offered as well, also turned it down. There's no official like why they turned it down. A lot of people are speculating things.
They saw the script and it was dog shit.
I'm gonna assume that's what happened, honestly.
But like they clearly didn't even rewrite the script. They were just like, okay, we could only get Billy and Zach
Right.
in this movie, and so we're gonna build the movie around these guys,
Right.
and
Then
it
we
was
will-
just weird. And I think even like, I don't know, retroactively, like it's very sad that the original actress who played the first Yellow Ranger, like who played Trini, died. But I don't know. It was also a weird choice to like kill her in the
very weird choice.
like. It felt really strange
Because she did pass
To
away
kill her
like,
in
25
2022.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and she died in a
25
pretty tragic way. She
Right.
died, I believe, in a car accident.
And also, like, you know, the original Red Ranger and the original
Pink Ranger.
Walter Emmanuel Jones,
Yeah.
the three of them, the original Red, Black, and Yellow Ranger, they all got kicked off the show because they asked for more money.
Yeah.
And then they wrote them off the show, and then unfortunately she
yeah.
got into that accident. So yeah, it's all very fucking weird.
It's really strange.
like how they went about doing this.
and like Power Rangers you never like crossed that border of like
killing a character.
killing maybe in like some of the like to clarify, we do not have consistently watched Power Rangers from beginning to end. We all have different exit points in the franchise. I believe Krishna, you ended with Space.
Or
Yeah, that was
Galaxy.
the last full one that I watched. I left like halfway through Galaxy because like, this is stupid.
Okay, so Krishna ended in Space. You ended with
I want to say Ninja Storm.
Ninja Storm,
Yeah.
and I ended with SPD.
Right.
So like this is like the early to mid 2000s. We have
Right.
not watched Power Rangers in a long time.
Right.
But at least up through those shows, they didn't really kill.
So Galaxy's
Power
the
Rangers.
closest.
But she didn't like die. She like ascended into a new form and then came back.
And then she came back by the end of the season, yes.
Yeah.
But they did spend multiple episodes where the character was, quote, dead.
You're right.
And that was the only series I remember them doing anything like that. And again, though, like those earlier seasons, like the first season of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers was like, looking back at it now, you're kind of like, okay, what the hell is this? But they did have some good arcs in older Power Rangers, like Lost in Galaxy or Lost in the Galaxy, or whatever. Especially with like you're dealing with characters grieving,
Yeah.
right? Like that's a very hard, difficult thing, and it's interesting. And how they did it, I think, was really well done. Like in Power Rangers in Space, you're dealing with the main Red Ranger's sister is the villain,
Right.
right?
Andros.
In Time Force, the main Red Ranger is actually the bad guy from the future.
Yeah.
Like
his ancestor.
His
Or
ancestor.
in the very pilot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like they've done like Power Rangers is capable of like creating interesting story.
But this one was weird because it's like she died and then they skipped a year.
Yeah.
And then they were just like, it was like this weird subplot with her daughter
Right.
that.
Which, by the way, when we first see the daughter and she's doing karate, what? The kicks, the arm swings. I don't get it.
It was just
It was very cringy.
it was bad
awkward.
martial arts. I think.
it
Well,
was-
actually, I don't know if it was bad. It could have been really good.
We haven't
the
done
way
martial
it was
arts
shot,
in
the way it was
years.
filmed
Was
was
awkward.
questionable at best.
It was weird. It was weird.
Yeah.
Why did people like this?
The other
People
thing,
like-
the
people
other
like
thing that
it.
was also kind of strange too is like
The
obviously-
lack of Bulk and Scully.
Yeah, so you had the Bulk and Scully, but only on a billboard.
Billboard.
But the other thing was the music, the score. They had the original Mighty Morphin theme tune, but then like some of the original music when they did the big monster battles was all original score, and it was weird.
Bad.
It just didn't work well. So that was another weird creative choice. I think that didn't make a lot of sense.
Yeah. I will say the best part of the special, and it was because of the song, was in the first 3 minutes when it's Morphin time.
Right.
And then they're fighting the putties, and it's that original song with the guitar riff.
Yep.
And I got goosebumps. I for a 30 seconds, I had goosebumps during that fight. It was like this nostalgia hit really hard. Right at that moment, I'm like, oh yeah, I remember being 5 years old watching this and being like, this is fucking cool. That was the high.
Yeah.
That 1 minute. And then, everything after that was as low as you can get. As low as you can get.
What do you? The thing I did find interesting, again, having not been in the Power Rangers like
World.
series or world for so long, how did you guys feel about their like real commitment to explaining and trying to fit everything within its continuity? Right. So like, you guys both know, like, Lost in Space, Andros, Zordon sacrifices himself at the end of Space,
Right.
and then that purifies everyone, right? So like Rita and Zed all become like human, and all the other villains from all the previous seasons, like the Turbo villain and the Machine Army from Zeo and everything, right?
Yeah, it's a big reset.
And like they were really Zordon is still not around since that time, and like Billy's looking for him, and then they like explain the reason, like Rita, like her dark energy is still around floating out there, and it takes over Alpha, and like it felt like there was just a big commitment to try and explain all of that. So it's like it fit into this perfect like bubble instead of just being like, here is the bad person, which is, at least as a kid, what Power Rangers felt like. Like, yes, maybe there was some explanation, but they didn't necessarily get like super hung up on the details.
Right.
But I don't know. For the movie, to me, it felt like they were hung up on the details a little bit of like, this is how all of this stuff kind of works.
Yeah, maybe. You're right, because they did. It was weird, and maybe that lent itself to some of the worst dialogue you've ever seen. But a lot of that really bad dialogue was like just exposition and like Billy explaining, oh, I work at Cranston Industries and I got this flying car, but I gotta, resign my position before I can go into space. And oh, hi, Adam. Like, I don't know.
Hi, Adam.
It's just so strange.
It is funny though. Like Billy is like clearly he's a billionaire, and he's built.
I kept getting so hung up too on like Billy Cranston. I'm like, wait, Bryan Cranston was in this show, and then he was Zordon in the movie. I'm like, and I kept forgetting that Billy's last name is Cranston. So the whole Cranston industry is in the beginning. I was like, is this just like a giant ode to Bryan Cranston? I was like, oh wait, no, Billy Cranston.
Yeah.
Okay.
Billy
and there are just all these references of things. Like, I think Kat was like, I'm married to Jason and we have a kid
named JJ.
Yeah.
named
JJ's,
JJ.
martial arts.
It's like,
It's like nobody remembers that shit. No one cares.
right.
that
I'm like,
much.
does it have to be referenced?
But that's the thing. There's
Yeah.
like going to the point like there is a fan base for this, right?
Sure,
like they
yeah.
do care about
Yeah.
that stuff, and
But then show it. Don't like just say it.
sure.
Like,
Oh,
budget
yeah, imply it.
constraints,
Imply
though.
it. Don't say it like in a horrible line of dialogue, right? I thought so. I don't know if we have a favorite parts, but
we
I
don't.
will say in the most ironic way possible, Rocky was my favorite part, because it felt like he knew this was a joke and he was in it as a joke. Like, he shows up with the noodles, the Chinese food. He's like, I'm trying to eat my noodles here. Also, I just loved how he's clearly like put on weight. He's like a thicker dude. He morphs into the Red Rangers like this
Super
slim guy.
skinny.
Not only that, when there's one specific scene when they're at the viewfinder and they're looking at Min fight the putties, they're like, "Oh my god, it's Min." His face is like, it's just like the most over the top. Like, he had like 4 lines the whole time, and every single one was a banger in the most ironic way.
It's wild. Like a lot of these actors and actresses, they'll go to various like local conventions to where they live. Like the actor that plays Billy, David Yost, like he's at every single LA Comic-Con. Like
Yeah.
I've seen him at every single one I've ever been to. He'll go to WonderCon and stuff, and I think it's great. Like, because there are people that like love this franchise and
Yeah.
care about it deeply. It's just like I have the big question of like, to was it Arjuna who said why? Who said why? Christian said why? Like, why was this made? Because when you make a film, especially if you're making a film or a special whatever, that's nostalgic and that has a fan base, right? Especially when it's been 30 years or whatever, you want to try and update it, right? So that the fans are familiar, but it's still new enough that it works with what is like mainstream media and kind of works with our viewing habits. And at the same time, you want to make it so that if somebody's not a major fan of like Power Rangers, maybe this is a good bringing them in type of thing, right? This film doesn't hit on either of those.
I just kind of like this film clearly like David Yost and Walter Emmanuel Jones, who play Billy and Zach, were like the two
Main,
that
yeah.
committed to this movie, were like mostly available for it. I just wish they built something around those two. Like, I don't understand why you felt like you had to bring back all the original Rangers and then have the original red and pink and green. Also, why is he green? Why is he not the White Ranger?
There's probably
Continuity.
a story reason there. Yeah,
Like, didn't the
movie
red
Tommy-
like did he have to get rid of the green power because it was killing him?
Yeah, it was like corrupted, and that's how he
Right.
became the White Ranger. Another one of the unhelpful used lines of dialogue actually might have helped explain that. But, instead of like trying to shoehorn them in and having this kind of like half-assed effort of like using that was also weird to me too, of like they used like the old sounds of them going, yeah, yeah, like in the battles. And I'm like, again, because like Jason David Frank has died, that felt weird,
Yeah.
where it's just like, ooh.
Yeah.
Like, I understand they own the rights and everything, and they can do whatever the hell they want.
Sure.
But it's just a level of fakeness, right? Where you, like, know that they're not there, they weren't involved, but you're like, they're still here. And even, like, they go to the funeral and, like, they're all there. And that's, like, that then you hear them kind of, like, morph off screen and, like, do the battle. Like, why do any of that? Like, if you're like, these are the people we have, and this is what we're going to make, and
build a story around
build a
that.
story around Billy and Zach, right? I think that actually would have been way better and like more interesting and kind of cool.
Instead of whatever this was.
Right.
Mhm.
Also, the Megazords were destroyed. Why bring them back? Right? Like, why not make better, newer machines?
I also thought that like all the Power Rangers across Earth are fighting, but we won't show any of them.
I'm just gonna show the toys.
Yeah,
the
figurines.
little figurines
I'm like,
that get converted.
I did pause it and like look like that's Ninja Storm. That's this. That's
You
that.
did?
Yeah.
Nerd.
Because that one might have been my favorite part. I'm like, oh, cool, nostalgia.
Like, oh look, Rita's got her own shelf of Power Ranger toys.
Robo Rita, rest in
Toys.
peace, Alpha 8.
Oh man.
But this was
Yeah.
the new one was Alpha 9,
Yeah.
Yeah.
But she took over the body of Alpha 8.
and then they blew it up.
Yeah. And they didn't care.
Yeah.
They weren't like, man, Alpha 8, he's dead.
Why did the Alpha 8 get the Rita essence and then her body's all metallic and then her clothing was cloth?
Yep.
How'd that happen?
So you recognize her because she's a
Gotcha.
classic villain.
Right. I
Because
think
the morphing, they said it in the movie, in the thing. The morphing grid is a thing of infinite possibilities or some shit.
I love how you're taking this serious.
Oh, I'm taking it so seriously. Can't you tell?
let's before we get into like bold predictions and things, let's
Why is that a section?
Is this
We could end this pod 10 minutes ago.
We have to predict the future. I've already seen articles of, is there a what's like Forever and Always 2 on the way?
So-
because of the positive reception to this, which obviously we have to review.
right. Gonna have to, sadly. But before we've obviously been shitting on this a lot, So let's before we get into like bold predictions and continue shitting on the film, let's go back down memory lane and like let's talk. Like, tell me your favorite Power Rangers season or arc and why.
Who gets to go first? Because I think that's going to determine a lot.
Ooh, I'll go first.
Yeah,
Damn it.
he's the eldest. Let him go first.
Yeah.
Go ahead,
So my favorite Power Rangers season or iteration by far is, I think you guys know this, Power Rangers in Space. By far the best one, best storytelling, best action. But the best arc in that I thought was crazy was the do you remember the Psycho Rangers?
Oh, yeah.
So that arc was the first and last arc of just the 7 or 8 seasons of Power Rangers that I watched, where I felt the Power Rangers were truly up against like a force that they couldn't beat. Like the Psycho Rangers were like diabolical,
And they
really
don't-
smart, really tactical, and gave the Rangers a lot of shit.
They kicked their ass multiple times.
And they also
So
had their own
many
theme
times,
music
yeah.
too.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and they were just like scary motherfuckers. It was great.
Didn't Space also have like a crossover with the Ninja Turtles
Yep.
and like Big Bag Beetleborgs
Yep.
or something?
it was just the Ninja Turtles. I don't think it was a Beetleborgs crossover.
Beetleborgs.
Oh, there wasn't?
No.
Oh, okay.
Beetleborgs
feels like they should have
came
been.
because of Power Rangers, but
Yeah, it's
It was
just
not
leftover
any crossover.
costumes.
I mean, kind of.
Probably.
They basically found another Japanese show that Power Rangers had not taken all the footage from. What the original? I forget what the original power, like the Japanese, like the counterpart, like where they got all this footage from. I forget what it's called. It's
Super
Senpai? No.
I don't know. I don't know if you guys have seen. There's like some really interesting TikToks on like the story of what the original Japanese show is. So wild. The Red Ranger and the Green Ranger are brothers, and the Red Ranger's like trying to save his brother, and it's like some really like good stuff. Not for kids, but like good, interesting at least story stuff in there. So highly recommend check out any TikToks that you find on like and. Rita's called Bandora. She's a witch, and that's why they call it was like an ode to the original Japanese show, which is why her palace
It's called
on the
Bandora.
moon is called Bandora Palace. It's like an ode
Gotcha.
because that's
cool.
the name of Rita from the original show.
I was wondering, why it was Bandora's.
Bandora, yeah.
That's cool though. So,
Oh, I thought it was Pandora. I thought this was all related to Avatar.
yeah, James Cameron actually was EP on this. He's a
Oh, I
huge
thought-
Power Rangers
He
fan.
directed it.
Yeah.
He was also the voice of Rita.
I know this is gonna be super weird. Do you think on Pandora they have something called Pandora Express? And it's like Panda Express, but it's like food from Pandora.
It serves the whale meat.
I mean, what else are you gonna do with all that meat?
That's a
Whale
weird.
water.
Once they pull the
It's a weird
brain.
Oh God. Ravi, you go next. You're the second oldest.
My favorite is gonna be Power Rangers Lost in Space. The Psycho Ranger.
No, you
arc.
gotta pick a different arc now.
No, I think mine is gonna be the Time Force one.
Okay.
Because of the villain for that. It's is it Bennett? Is that
Yeah,
his
it's
name?
Bennett from
He plays
from
the villain
Commando.
in Commando.
Yeah.
And I didn't discover that until actually
Plays Raz-
somewhat
Raznik?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Raznik is the villain.
Yeah.
I didn't discover that until like a couple of years ago. So like going back and remembering that, it's just hilarious.
He had one of the most
so
disgusting,
over the
coolest thing. He was like a mutant.
Yes.
And then he had like a sword that he'd like pop out. I mean, he'd like pull it out of his leg.
Yep.
He's like, ah. Yeah.
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 Time
That's
Force
fucked up.
in general, like the whole idea of the time travel stuff is always a fun thing.
And they had the owl.
and they had the owl thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was cool. It was a good one.
Yeah, Time Force is a good answer. Well, you guys took my top two. So I'm gonna go with the original Mighty Morphin Power Rangers.
Wow.
Got it.
And I'm gonna go the arc that stands out to me is obviously Tommy is the evil Green Ranger.
Yeah. That was a good one.
And that being under Rita's
Classic.
control. I think that's like, again, maybe I was joking at the top, maybe I was serious, but it's like up there with The Sopranos and Game of Thrones. Book of Boba Fett.
Oh yeah.
Top tier
That makes
television.
sense. That makes sense.
definitely Book of Boba Fett level for sure.
But no, I mean, like that is some of the best storytelling of Power Rangers. All jokes aside, like that is a really compelling arc, and at least what got me into Power Rangers. Like
Yeah.
I was like, wow.
I will say as well, if you think about it, Power Rangers is sort of our first nerdum franchise. It's like what started this. Without Power Rangers, there's no was it good? Put it that way, probably. It's like it started before there was Star Wars, before there was Marvel. That was Power Rangers
For
It was
us, yeah.
literally the first thing. Like I remember being 5 or 6 years old. Arjuna was probably 1 or just born, and Ravi was 3 or 4. And me and Ravi are just sitting in the living room flipping through the TV, and then we get to Power Rangers. I'm like, oh, let's watch this. Rest is history.
I was on Fox.
Actually,
Kids,
wasn't
right?
wasn't the story though? You guys actually flipped to Power Rangers at first, and they were talking. You guys like, this is boring, and you flipped away. And then eventually you came back around, and then they were
Yeah.
fighting. You guys like, this is amazing.
This is probably
this is
exactly how it happened.
podcasting.
Now this is a show.
You're like explosions.
You know,
Yes.
what I always find fascinating is, growing up, our parents were very against like toys that, mimicked weapons or guns.
Yeah.
But they were okay with us watching Power Rangers.
Well, so that was the push and the pull, right?
Right.
I mean, it was like they were very inconsistent in that because, like, we pushed on it. We were like,
Sure.
we have to watch this. Everyone at school's watching it.
Right.
Everyone at school's playing it. We will be left out. We don't know.
The first video game I ever played was also Doom.
That's also very true.
Well, our Uncle Anthony was a
Yeah.
big influence in helping us, get into some of that stuff.
And we turned out fine.
yeah. Look at us.
I'm not scared.
Yeah, look at us.
Totally normal. Look at all this. Normal.
Look at all my stuff. I think if anything, they helped us just figure out, consumerism.
They made us
Yes,
poor.
they
You think
they
about
sure
it.
did. They sure
yeah,
did.
yeah. If I didn't have all this crap,
Think about all the crypto I could.
yeah, all the crypto and the Subway I could be eating.
Yeah, eat fresh.
Eat fresh. What does that make you think of?
Subway.
Oh.
Oh no.
I'm Christian. I'm really hungry. All right, let's get into bold predictions.
Bold.
Skip bold predictions.
You know what? Okay, so Christian will go first. He's gonna skip it.
Wait. So what do you want? Bold predictions for Power Rangers, the show, or bold predictions for Power Rangers as in more of these specials? What are you looking?
All of it. Whatever calls to your heart.
Yeah.
I think in about a year or two they're gonna do another special, and it'll be dedicated specifically to Jason David Thomas.
Oh.
Jason
David
Thomas
Frank.
David.
David Frank.
sorry.
Yeah.
The original Green Ranger, the White Ranger, Tommy, because it was clear within the first 5 minutes that this was made before his death.
Right.
Tommy is the most popular and most beloved Ranger.
Yeah, he's the face of the franchise.
He's the face. He's popped up in multiple generations.
Yeah, he was in
Power
Dino
Rangers.
Thunder. He was the Black Ranger in that.
And he showed up in a newer one too, I think.
Yeah.
So I think we're gonna get another special. It'd be dedicated to him. I just pray, and I think they will. I pray it's just better than what we got here.
Yeah.
You got to get better writers, and the acting needs to be better. I mean, it doesn't need to be that much better. You just got to get better writing. Just please.
Yeah.
You know?
It shouldn't be
Jesus.
that hard.
Christian, if Entertainment One called you and was like, Krishna Ramgopal, we need you to write this special, would you take up the call
Of course.
for Power Rangers?
Any millennial who got that call would answer the call.
You heard it here first. Hasbro, he will take the call.
No, they're gonna get a what's the generation before Boomer? They're gonna be the one.
Dead?
Isn't that the greatest generation?
Sure. I thought the Boomers were the greatest generation.
No. Greatest generation is like World War II, and I think boomers are the kids of that generation. I could be very wrong, though. Don't
That's
quote me on
fine.
that.
That's fine.
Ravi, what's your bold prediction?
My bold prediction for Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, once is more than enough to never have to watch that again, is
You will watch it again.
that I don't have a good bold prediction. Christian made the most boldest and logical one. I'm going to go with, here we go. Actually, I got it. They're going to reboot the whole franchise in the next year or two, and there will be a new Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, and it's going to be the exact same story as before, exact same suits and everything, just new actors, essentially. They're just
Ravi,
gonna-
I'll add on to your bold prediction and make yours better.
Oh, let's hear it.
Min is the start of the new.
You just stole my bold
There you go.
prediction.
There you go.
Well,
My
that was
bold-
the logical place to go.
My bold prediction was that the popularity of this will lead to a new Mighty Morphin, which is the kids, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have JJ, who's mentioned quite a few times. You have
Min.
Min, and you probably have other characters you can just kind of
Throw
pop
in.
up
Plug
and
and play.
and then you can have the new generation and the old generation. It's very popular, obviously, with a lot of the '90s shows now to do these like continuation series
Right.
with the children.
Oh, yeah,
generation.
like, they did like Boy Meets World, and
Yeah.
that's like Girl Meets World.
Yeah, That's So Raven has done that. So a lot of those
Lizzie
shows.
McGuire is now How I Met Your
Father.
Father, supposed to be that.
That was gonna be my bold prediction that we're gonna get Mighty Morphin.
So come on, think of your
Two.
feet. What's your
What's my next one?
what's your next one? Come on.
Okay.
Yeah, have more.
My next bold prediction is that there will be no more Power Rangers.
Pretty bold prediction.
That's actually my secret hope.
You just wanted to end finally.
I just want it to end gracefully.
It can't. It makes too much
until
money
they
still.
offer us a boatload of money to reboot it ourselves, and then we make it Battlestar Galactica.
No, if Netflix is serious, they need the action of Karate Kid,
Right.
Or I should say
Cobra Kai.
And honestly, that level of writing as well, where it's campy and it's cheesy, like the old Power Rangers, but it still works in today's world. That's the Cobra Kai is the direction they have to go if they are going to reboot it.
It's a good analysis that Christian just did there.
Yes.
It's very good. Yeah.
How
And was it good?
How have we spent 47 minutes on this?
I don't know. It's a good question. It's a very good question.
Arjuna didn't even do a DVD chapter list.
I know we still somehow are.
I sat down.
This.
I sat down to write one, and I was like looking at my phone for about 5 minutes, and I was like,
I can't do it.
I can't do it. That's never happened to me before, but this is the first thing where it's like I can't. There's nothing. What do I put? Shit, dog shit, crap, mega crap.
I mean, your first chapter
Super
would have
crap.
been
Slow mo.
No, it would have been somebody got a drone. Because there's drone shot on drone shot.
No
on
drones.
Drone. Yeah, no drones.
No
drones.
drones. That's the first chapter.
All right, let's ask the question.
And we are. Was it good?
I'm just gonna do it like this. Krishna, Arjuna, myself, who was Power Rangers once and always good.
No.
There you
No.
go.
No.
That was easy. Was not good.
You know, I'm gonna say yes.
Really? I was gonna say.
Yeah.
I think that's
So
it. I think that's everything you could say about it.
Yeah.
Actually, I have one question for
Sure.
you guys. We've mentioned other seasons, right? Other
Power Rangers.
Power Ranger seasons. What other season would you want to see like a special?
Probably the space crew.
Lost like space?
Yeah, either that or the Time Force crew, because obviously they're in another time. That'd be fun.
I just don't
I just don't.
Nice.
want to see anymore.
That's fair.
That's
That's
just
fair.
done.
Just give us a sequel to the movie.
For those listening, and if you've made it all the way to this point, definitely comment below. And if you are a big fan of this, like a legitimate fan of this film, this special, please comment below and let us know why. I'm genuinely curious.
And then block us because I don't want to know you.
Jesus
don't listen
Just
to
costing
him.
us subscribers.
Don't not do subscribe.
Subscribe. And as always, you can find us on YouTube.com/wasitgood,
Nice.
on Instagram,
Good recovery,
TikTok
good recovery.
at wasitgoodpod. If you still use Twitter, we're there at wasitgood. I don't know if we post anything. Christian can answer that.
Yeah, occasionally.
Yeah, occasionally. Definitely check out our website, wasitgood.info. Till next time. Actually, no, our next pod will be on Star Wars Visions Volume 2, which is dropping
May the 4th.
May the 4th. So tune in for that. We might have some special interviews in that.